Happy 4th of July. I hope you are enjoying your day with your friends and family out there. Florida has a stacked recruiting class right now. They're sitting at number 3 in the nation. But a lot of people are asking about two positions in particular. Both the offensive line and the secondary seem to be worrying some fans. That's right. Even with a top 3 class and Billy's Army, UF fans are still a little worried. So we're going to come here to calm those nerves just a tad. Florida did miss out on a couple guys recently in Jameer Grimsley and Ethan Callaway. So who might they go after to fill those needs? Well, we've got you covered. Let's look at the top offensive linemen and DB targets for UF right now. All right, offensive line. Guys, we have been talking about this player on this channel for months. He is the number one offensive line target in my book, and I would say probably in most recruiting analysis book as well. It's Fletcher Westfall. We're going to make Papa Westfall really happy and make sure everybody knows, y'all, he is 335 pounds, 6'8", 335 pounds. You cannot teach size. That is exactly the size lineman that Florida wants to go after. It's what the biggest and most dominant offensive lines in the SEC, so of course, therefore the country, are made up of. Really, really big guys. 6'8", 335 pounds. Wild. He's from Leesburg, Virginia. On3 has him as a 4-star. He is the number 257th best player overall for them. 24/7 has him as a 4-star as well. He's listed as 289th overall on 247. And he came to Gainesville in June 16th. He was there one of those really good, exciting weekends where lots of guys fell in love with Florida and committed, and we're so excited about becoming Gators. I'm sure that there was a lot of pressure on him to, learn everything he possibly could about the university. Florida's putting the full court press on him because they really, really think that Fletcher Westfall could be a huge cog in this line for years to come. He is a big prospective piece of this recruiting class puzzle, and he would be our highest rated offensive line commit. He has elite size, like we already talked about, 6'8", 335 pounds. And he has a lot of the traits, the football smarts, the IQ necessary for that left tackle spot, probably the most important position on the field. He is guarding the blind side. This is the kind of guy you want to fill that spot if you're the University of Florida. I don't know that there's any real clear leader for him at the moment. Florida's definitely in a good position, but there's a lot of other schools at play. And I think mainly it's because he is that good of a player. We're going to get up against schools like Clemson, Auburn, Georgia, Arkansas. He is announcing soon, though, so the end is in sight, July 10th. Fletcher Westfall will be making his decision known to the world. Like I said, Florida should be sitting in a pretty good position right now, but they're playing this very close to the vest, and we are not exactly sure where he's leaning, and I think that's how he wants it, but it would be a huge pickup for the Gators if Fletcher Westfall put on that Gator hat on July 10th. The next guy on my list is Ty Hilton. He is 6'4", 270 pounds. He's a hometown guy from Oviedo, Florida. When we talk about battles that Florida needs to win, these are the types that we're talking about. Orlando guys. If Florida wants him, they should be able to have him. He is a 3-star guy on both On3 and 247. He is the 725th overall rated player for On3, 912th overall for 247. He also visited the weekend of June 16th. And he plays right tackle right now for his high school, and he competes in the highest classification in the state of Florida, which those are some big guys. If you know anything about high school football in the state of Florida, you know that those teams are rough and tough in that highest classification. So he has seen and played some really good football. He's a little bit undersized at the moment, so this is more of a project. But listen, we talk about this on the channel all the time. Offensive line is filled with projects a lot of the time. This is why you oversign, because you're not 100% sure what you're getting a lot of the time. Him having to sit a year or two before contributing is pretty normal for offensive line. It's pretty rare for a guy to come in right away and play significant minutes. So again, I don't think Ty Hilton would be an immediate contributor, but that's totally okay for the position that he plays. I think there's plenty of time for him to get developed. Miami and Florida State and Penn State are other schools that Florida is battling right here. So like I said, Florida should get the picks that they want from their home state. Oviedo is closer to Gainesville than it is to Tallahassee or Miami. So if the Gators want Ty Hilton, these are the kind of battles that Napier needs to be able to win. Another guy we're going to talk about is Favor Edwin. This is another guy that's more along the size that we're used to seeing Napier go after. He's 6'8", 290 pounds. He is out of the state of Georgia. We've talked a lot about Napier being able to pull guys from Georgia's backyard. He has recruited the state of Georgia really, really well this year. Edwin is an on-3 3-star. He's the 1,090th overall player. 247, he's a 3-star as well, 1,181st. He also visited on that June 16th weekend. And, listen, he is not a very highly rated kid, but he's massive. And we talk about this on the channel all the time. You can't teach size. We also talk about how it's so hard to grade offensive linemen because a lot of times high school programs just stick their biggest guys out there and there's not a whole lot of technique taught at a lot of schools across the country. So I really do think that this is a project that UF could take on, that they could develop well. They do well with discovering diamonds in the rough on the line. I think that this could be a project that would turn out really well for Florida. Edwin doesn't have a whole lot of buzz around him yet, but he had that recent visit and Florida is heavily favored right now by On3 to pick up Edwin if the Gators want him. So this may be somebody they take a chance on. Like we've said, can't teach size. This would be the perfect project for a 2 offensive line coach scheme. The next guy on my list is Elijah Thurman. He is 6'3.5", 271 pounds, also out of Georgia. He's out of Hinesville, Georgia, the Bardwell Institute. 3-star on both On3 and 247. He's the 433rd player overall for On3, the 381st best offensive lineman overall on 247. He hasn't been to Gainesville for a while. The last time he came to visit was October 8th. It was an unofficial visit. He is a pretty good player, though. I think it's somebody we're going to continue to hear a little bit more about as the fall happens and as July moves on as well. He is a Polynesian Bowl invite. He competes in Georgia's 5A classification, and he also plays basketball. We talk a lot about those multi-sport athletes that we know Billy Napier just absolutely loves. As a junior, he averaged 16.2 points per game. He camped with the Gators a year ago in July, and he received an offer the very next day. So obviously the coaches really liked what they saw from him in person. And like Hilton, a little bit on the smaller side, but a year or two in a big-time college program with a college diet and weight training program, I think that they would get him up to the size they wanted him pretty darn easily. Another guy where there's not a lot of buzz around him, but the Gators are heavy favorites to land him according to On3. I'm not sure where this relationship is right now with him and UF, but I do think that he is one that we could certainly circle the wagons for if needed down the line. And before we get into our DB targets, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We've been seeing some insane growth in the last month, and I really want to keep that going. We want to hit 5,000 by the time we get to the Utah game, so help me get there and hit the subscribe button. All right, let's talk about some DB targets. First and foremost, Zay Mincy, another name you've heard on this channel a lot. 6'3", 180 pounds. He's out of Daytona Beach, Florida. He plays at Mainland High School. On3 and 247 both have him as a 4-star. On3 has him as the 144th best player overall, and 247 has him as the 131st overall. He last visited June 9th, which was another super popular official visit weekend. He's considered a really heavy Florida lean right now, but the staff still needs to do their job and close this deal. It looks like he will most likely play corner for the Gators, which, if you remember back to what I just said about his size, 6'3", 180 pounds, that is a huge corner. I just think that this is kind of Corey Raymond's body type. He likes what he sees out of him. We heard he has really quick feet. He has really great speed. He's got great hands. I'm excited to see what would happen if Mincy gets in there with Corey Raymond as his head coach. And if the Gators land him, I do think that Raymond is the reason that happened. But as we've talked earlier in this video about landing guys that are close to home, this is one of those. Daytona Beach is closer to Gainesville than it is any of the other schools that he is considering. Napier needs to land the homegrown talent, so he can go a long way by landing Zay Mincy. Another guy we're going to talk about is Jamari Howard, 6'2", 175 pounds, out of Miami, Florida. On3 has him as a 4-star and the 76th best player overall. 24/7 has him as a 4-star as well and the 94th best player overall. He visited that June 16th weekend, which was obviously an incredible popular weekend if you listen to these names on this list. I think that this is a UF FSU battle right now, and I don't really know that there is a clear favorite. And I don't know that we are going to have an answer during the summer. I think this may be something that plays on out into the fall, but we're going to see. He's 6'2", and he has an almost 80-inch wingspan. That is massive. He is exactly what Corey Raymond looks for in his quarterbacks. He also runs track. He won the 4x400 Florida relays. That was a lightning fast relay team. He has so much straightaway speed. It is insane. This would be a huge addition to Florida's secondary. Another guy that we've talked about on this channel some, and I really do think could end up as a Gator, maybe sooner rather than later, is Teddy Foster. He's 6'2", 170 pounds, out of Sarasota, Florida. On3 and 247 both have him listed as a 3-star. He also visited that June 16th weekend. There's a lot of buzz around this guy for the Gators. We are currently a very heavy favorite to land him. Once again, prototypical size that Raymond likes. He plays both cornerback and wide receiver. He's an incredibly versatile athlete. I think that he's a little bit underrated for what he is, and I think that there's a chance that as the summer and the fall goes on, we may see his stock rise a little bit. 2022 defensive stats, he had 38 tackles, 9 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. And for the 2022 offensive stats, he had 17 receptions, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is really productive for his high school team. And I think that this is a guy that really wants to wear the orange and blue. And, that's important. You need these really highly rated guys that are going to, whoever can sell the program to them the very most, because that's how you win championships. You also need these 3-star guys that really want to be Gators, because that's how you create a championship program, not just a national championship win. And guys like Teddy Foster are guys that you could really see becoming lifelong Gators. And I love when we have some of those in the class. Last guy I'm going to talk about is Ashton Hampton. He's 6'2", 190 pounds, out of Tallahassee, Florida. Both On3 and 247 have him as a 3-star guy. And he kind of seems to be flying a little bit under the radar. Haven't really heard anybody talking about him, but he's once again got that prototypical size that Corey Raymond goes for. And he's a 2-sport athlete. He plays basketball for his high school. We've talked ad nauseum about Napier going after these 2 and 3-sport athletes and why that's such a benefit, both because they are great with time management. They're obviously incredibly athletic, but they've got to really have some smarts about them as well. As a sophomore, his team won the 3A state title. Florida's considered the favorite to land him, at least by On3, and other schools that are in contention are Clemson, Florida State, and Arkansas. So Ashton Hampton, that's another name for you guys to keep an eye on. Who do you think is going to be the next person to commit to the Gators? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. We've been told about a couple of guys who could pop any day, so make sure you're locked in because you don't want to miss anything. I certainly upset some Central Florida fans last week with my takes on Gus Malzahn. If you missed it, click right here to get caught up.